In this tutorial, we will cover proper positioning for your shoulders to get the most comfort in this not so comfortable trick. We will also go over 7 different conditioning exercises with variations to use as your strength and endurance progress. All of these exercises should be performed with 10 reps on each shoulder and 2 to 3 sets. I recommend trying out each variation to see where you are and where you can progress. For an added challenge, as you progress, make it your goal to do all 10 reps consecutively without stopping. With that said, let's break down the proper shoulder positioning and overall form. We want to make sure that the pull is positioned on the back of the trap muscle, resting right in between the crevice of your neck and your shoulder. It's important that your pull sits right in between your neck and your shoulder because that's where the most muscular part of your shoulder is. Everything else you will start running into bone, and that's really uncomfortable. Another thing to note here is that your head is leaned backwards, and whatever shoulder you've got the pull on, it will be that corresponding hand that will be lower, while the outside or other hand is going to be higher. Also, be sure to use cup grip here, so the thumbs are going to be on that same side of the pull as the rest of your fingers, not wrapped around. Here is a look at that grip from a few different angles. Also, now's a good time to mention when you do start to pull into that shoulder, we want to make sure the elbows stay outward rather than pushing them inward when you go to pull into that shoulder. Now, one last final thing before we get into the exercises. I've got a lot of questions about how to protect your clavicle or collarbone from hitting the pole. One thing to note is that muscle right at the top of the shoulder, that's our trap. We really want to focus on getting the pull there. However, obviously the collarbone is really close to that muscle. So in order to protect it, we're going to bring the shoulders upward as we flex the trap. That creates more space between the trap muscle and the collarbone, as you can see here. Another thing that's going to be really important is making sure that the pull starts out being placed on the backmost part of that trap muscle. And now it is officially time for some conditioning exercises. We're going to start these laying on our back. The first exercise will be lying leg lifts. Make sure your head is raised off the ground, your hands are in cup grip, and your lower arm is your near arm, higher arm is your outside arm. With straight legs, bring them into the air using your core. Once they start to reach the pole, you're going to straddle. You'll push into your hands, your shoulder, and use your core to lift your hips into the air. If your head is lifted off the ground, you should be finding a little bit of space between your shoulder blades and the ground. If you're not, that is okay, but ultimately you do want to try and get at least a half an inch to an inch off the ground with your shoulders. And if you are feeling confident with that, you can go ahead and raise yourself up off the ground even higher by elevating your starting point. This will be a little bit more difficult, so kind of go at your own pace and work up to this if needed. If straight legs is an issue, then no problem. You can always use bent legs or tucked knees, as some may say. You can either do this on the ground or take it up a couple inches to get that higher elevation. You can also incorporate gripping the pole with your legs to imitate a full shoulder mount. One leg will be wrapped around the far side of the pole while the opposite leg around the near side. You can also use the brass monkey variation for your leg grip. That's when your near leg travels to the far side of the pole. So now you are in a sort of twisted pike, and then that near leg ends up hooking at the back of the knee, while the far leg presses against the front of the ankle on the back side of the pole. To release this position, you'll go ahead and unhook that knee as you untwist your legs so they are on their respective sides. You'll go into a straddle before completely dismounting. The next exercise will be the seated shoulder mount. We will start in a shoulder mount position with our hips about 6 inches away from the pole. You can either do this by tucking your knees to your chest or by using straight legs. For this next one, we will be doing pulses and lifts. We will start by bringing the knees to the chest and then extending the legs. Once our feet have reached the pole, we're going to drive our hands and shoulder into the pole, lifting our legs up with our core muscles. This can be done with bent knees or with straight legs. Next will be shoulder pulls. In a shoulder mount grip, standing on the balls of your feet, tightly grip the pole with your hands. Press your shoulder into the pole as you engage your entire upper body and your core. This should raise you up to your tippy toes. I recommend holding these shoulder pulls for at least 2 to 5 seconds each hold. Next will be side to side steps and or spins. Starting off in your shoulder mount position on the balls of your feet, you're going to take your corresponding leg to whatever shoulder is on the pole, and it's going to be straight, and you'll step it out to the side as your trailing leg bends. That trailing leg will extend and become your new leading leg as you step back to your original position. So you'll end up just stepping back and forth from one side to the other. As you begin to feel more confident and secure with these, allow your steps to become more like a lift and a hold, so that way you can further expand on this motion. Another thing you can do to expand on that will be holding those holds for at least a full rotation, and if not a full rotation, working up to that point. Next will be low and high grip kicks. Pardon the change in video quality. I had to pull this from an old class recording because I totally forgot to record this part of the exercises. For the low grip kicks, we'll be parallel to the ground with our knees at about a 90-degree angle. Whatever shoulder is on the pole, it's going to be that corresponding leg that's going to lead the kick. That leg will be straight and extended outwards. It's going to kick up, shooting you into the air. For the high kicks, we will be doing the same motion, however, we will be starting from a standing position, and our goal will be to get as much height off that bottom foot as possible. Lastly, we have the shoulder mount tucks, where we will be lifting our knees up. You can start off with a very small lift and progressively work your knees higher and higher. The 2 progressions after this motion here would be tucking your knees all the way to your chest as your hips raise up slightly, and the last will be tucking so much so that your knees start to go on the outsides of your body. Once you can do that comfortably, you should be able to extend your legs into a straddle, and from there you can start utilizing straight legs the entire time. Of course, we want to end with some stretching, so we'll lean our head to one shoulder while we pull our opposite shoulder downwards so we can enhance the stretch on our trap and our neck. After you've held this position for a minimum of 10 to 20 seconds, you can go ahead and start rocking your head back and forth. This is going to help target different points on the side of your neck and your traps. If you're not feeling this in your traps, you're really going to want to make sure your shoulder is pulled down away from your ear. And of course, once you're ready, go to the opposite side and repeat. After you have done this on both sides, go ahead and lean your head forward with that slight tilt to the side. You will feel this along the back side of your neck and your traps where the pole was sitting. Of course, we will even this out by going to the opposite side. Again, I really cannot stress enough to hold this for a minimum of 10 to 20 seconds, but you are always welcome to hold more. Now is the time where we can really increase our flexibility and just stretch out our muscles so they aren't as prone to soreness. I usually will go back and forth between these positions at least 2 times on each side with those long holds. After I've done this, I begin to move my head around at different angles to find where my body needs to be stretched the most, and I'll hold them for as long as I feel comfortable. And you can always finish with some head circles. I failed to do so in this video. that will conclude the rest of this video, so I appreciate you for watching and I hope you enjoy these conditioning exercises. If you have any further questions or would like to book a private lesson, please feel free to use the following contact information.